It's good to see you again, and I hope you had a great day, and it's time for another bedtime story. So, are you ready? Good. This one is called Kevin, the Very Old Rabbit. Kevin, the Very Old Rabbit, was very old. Believe it or not, he was 146 years old, and his name was Kevin. He had always been old. In fact, when he was born, he had glasses and a long white beard, which greatly surprised his mother because she had perfect eyesight and no facial hair whatsoever. His dad was called Kevin, the extremely old rabbit. But he's not in this story. Now, every Tuesday morning, Kevin would drive to the post office in Swindon to collect his pension money. But today was no ordinary Tuesday morning for two main reasons. Firstly, it was his birthday, and secondly, it was in fact Wednesday. This meant that he was actually 147 years old. The only problem was he didn't know it. You see, because he thought it was Tuesday, he thought his birthday wasn't until tomorrow. Anyway, he parked the car in the usual place, on double yellow lines opposite the police station. He turned on the radio and got out of the car. He never had the radio on when he was driving because he hated pop music. Suddenly, a very watery thing happened. It started to rain. Not just a few drops, but whole bucketfuls. He ran to the bus shelter, but the bus shelter didn't have a roof, so that didn't help. He'd forgotten to bring his umbrella, and his fur was getting soaked. So he looked around and saw a big shop called Umbrella World, just next door to Woolworths. When he ran into the shop, he couldn't believe how many umbrellas there were. There were millions and billions of them, neatly lined up on the shelves. The first one looked as if it was made of silk, and it had a gold handle. But this was too expensive. The next one was full of holes to let the rain through, which Kevin thought was a very silly idea. Then he saw a lovely yellow umbrella, covered in pictures of monkeys and tennis rackets. It cost just $4.99, so he took out his purse and bought it. When he went outside, he found that it had stopped raining, which was a good thing and a bad thing. After looking at his watch, he decided that it was probably time to eat because he was hungry. So he crossed over the road to McDonald's. He bought a Big Mac, but threw the burger and the bread roll in the bin because, being a rabbit, he only liked lettuce. 3.5 weeks later, he got a letter from the boss of McDonald's. It said, "Dear Mr. Very Old Rabbit, congratulations! You have won a trip round the world on the Concorde in our Ronald McDonald Spot the Difference competition. The plane leaves Heathrow Airport at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Have a good time. Love, from Mr. Sir Morris McDonald." Unfortunately, Kevin couldn't read, so he screwed up the letter and threw it up into the dustbin. He thought it was probably a soppy love letter from Mildred Parker, who used to fancy him at school. A bit later that day, Kevin got a telephone call from Sir Malcolm Morris McDonald's secretary. She wanted to know if he was packed and ready to go on holiday. At first, Kevin thought it was Mildred Parker asking him if he was ready for a honeymoon, but after a while, the secretary, whose name was Gladys, explained all about the competition and how he had won a trip around the world on the Concorde. Kevin was very excited. He packed his suitcase with 2 jumpers, 1 pair of trousers, a clean pair of socks, a spare pair of shoelaces, 9 pairs of pajamas, a book, another book, some sunglasses, and 1 more book, and a cuddly toy. The next day he got up bright and early. He drove down the M4 motorway to Heathrow Airport and climbed aboard the Concorde. A nice lady called Air Stewardess gave him a cup of coffee and a chocolate biscuit. He didn't really like coffee, but he drank it anyways because he didn't want to upset the air stewardess. At 8 o'clock, the plane left and took off into the air and soared above the clouds. The Concorde travels faster than the speed of sound, which is very fast indeed, so it took just 3 hours to reach the city of Washington. The first person that Kevin met was named Bill Clinton. He used to be the President of the United States of America, but not anymore. He took Kevin to lunch at the White House. They had fried lettuce with jam and chatted about their favorite cartoons. Kevin's favorite was Bugs Bunny, and Bill Clinton's favorite was Scooby-Doo. At 6:30, Kevin was back on the Concorde flying to Hollywood, which is where actors and actresses make films to show in the cinema. He was introduced to a man named Steven Spielberg, who made very popular films such as E.T. and Jurassic Park. Steven Spielberg was amazed to meet an English rabbit that could talk. He had been looking for a talking rabbit to appear in his next film, called Attack of the Bunnies. But Kevin didn't want to be an actor. He was a plumber and preferred tinkering about on taps and water pipes. Kevin spent the night in a very expensive 5-star hotel. His room had a television with 49 channels. He stayed awake all night, switching from one program to the next. When morning came, he was so tired that he fell asleep. He missed breakfast, he missed lunch, and then he missed tea. Worst of all, he missed his next flight on the Concorde. When he eventually woke up, he caught a bus to the airport, but he was very disappointed when they told him that the plane had already gone. So he caught a bus to the harbor and got on board a very big passenger ship that was heading for Japan. He was excited to find out that he had his very own cabin with a bed and a porthole to look out of. There was a restaurant on the ship, but there was a big problem with the food. The ship's crew had forgotten to load any food supplies onto the ship, except for 600 stacks of broccoli. Now, normal people don't like broccoli, but if you're a rabbit, you'll find that broccoli is actually rather nice. So this was the ideal situation for Kevin. 600 stacks of broccoli, and he was the only one on the ship who liked it. He ate 4 stacks straight away and decided to save the other 596 for later. At 9:10, a big storm blew and the ship sank. Luckily, Kevin had been sitting in one of the life rafts at the time, so he was quite safe. He steered the life raft to the nearest desert island, which was small in size, round in shape, and had a palm tree sticking up in the middle. It also had one other thing, a lady that looked like Mildred Parker. In fact, she looked so much like her that it was her. This was very depressing development for Kevin, stuck on a deserted island with Mildred Parker. Of course, Mildred was delighted to see Kevin and immediately wanted to kiss him. He quickly climbed up the palm tree to escape her clutches. But he didn't know that Mildred had once won an Olympic gold medal in gymnastics. Basically, this meant that she was very good at climbing trees, so she was quick to follow him. Unfortunately, the palm tree was one of the weakest in the world, and it couldn't stand the combined weight of a 147-year-old rabbit and a slightly chubby ex-gymnast. So, the tree toppled over, and both Kevin and Mildred landed with their heads in the sand and their legs sticking up in the air. They were stuck in the sand for many years. Kevin spent his time playing with a Monopoly set that he had kept in his waistcoat pocket. He didn't know many of the rules, but he enjoyed passing the go and collecting $200. Mildred spent her time trying to count the grains of sand on the island. She got up to 4,942,006,423. When Kevin threw a couple of grains into the sea, she had to start all over again. The day after Kevin's 200th birthday, well, a really great thing happened. A ship came and rescued them and took them back to Swindon. They had been stranded on the desert island for more than 50 years. Do you know? Something really nice happened during that time that I didn't tell you about. They fell in love. So, soon after they arrived back in England, they got married, and the two had children and told them all about their adventure. A bit later, they decided to live happily ever after. The end. Wasn't that a great story? Oh, I really liked that one. So, alright, here's some questions to see if you were paying attention. Are you ready? How many stacks of broccoli were on the ship? That's right, 600 stacks of broccoli. That's a lot of broccoli. What is Kevin's favorite cartoon? Bugs Bunny, of course, that's right. And Bill Clinton's was Scooby-Doo. Remember that? Now, why couldn't Mildred count the grains of the sand on the island? Well, she had to start over, that's right, because Kevin threw some into the ocean. Now, what does Kevin prefer? Lettuce or pop music? Right, lettuce. He's a rabbit, of course. And what do you think they ate when they were on the island? Boy, that's a good question. I don't know that answer. Would you like to live on a desert island? I don't know. Maybe. Well, that's it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the story. Have a great night, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.